Amun token holders, this is Community Manager Korean again, back with another episode of the Inside Crypto Show as well as the YouTube video. Today we are going to be doing something a bit different. We're not going to have a last week in Pico this week. We're going to do what's a very typical video of that organizations do, when the year ends. They're like, okay, what happened this year? Because some people just got into crypto during the middle of the year or the end of the year, or maybe some people, they've always been in crypto. So today we're summing up the major crypto news stories that happened. What I've done is I've had a look through Google Trends, I've had a look through CNBC, Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, a bunch of other crypto publications that if I spent all night naming them, we'd never finish with this episode. And I've sort of selected these stories and I've based it sort of as in one positive story, one negative story, so half and half, because not everything is, sunshine and moon beams, as they say, or unicorns and fairy dust. Is that a thing people say? Anyway, so let's get into our first story of this episode. One of the biggest stories, of course, this year, right? February 8th, 2021, by Sam Borghi on Cointelegraph. Tesla allocates 7.7 of gross cash to Bitcoin, right? They put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Not a huge shocker to anyone who knows Elon Musk, because he does sort of trendy out there things all the time. But this did make a lot of companies think like, oh, should I have Bitcoin on my balance sheet? What if I do have Bitcoin on my balance sheet? And companies are like, this is a bad idea. Some companies are like, oh, wow, this is interesting. Some companies did that. Of course, you guys know MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, the biggest sort of corporate Bitcoin holders in the world, I believe. I could be wrong. You can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments of this video, or email, or Telegram, or Discord. But yeah, Tesla spent a bunch of money, 7.7% of their cash, right? A 1.5 billion allocation to Bitcoin. All right, and they filed it with the SEC, of course, and they still have this Bitcoin, and they're like, we're going to accept Bitcoin as payments. Now, there was this big whole story of this, and they said, yes, they bought Bitcoin, and they said, yes, we can accept Bitcoin as payments for Teslas. And then because a lot of people are like, oh my God, Bitcoin's bad for the environment, you guys shouldn't do this. And then Elon Musk said, no, okay, we're going to stop. And then the Bitcoin Council came together with Michael Saylor, Elon Musk, and like, look, Bitcoin is actually pretty green. A lot of miners are using green energy sources and things like that. And so he eventually changed his mind. And the latest news, of course, is like, possibly Dogecoin as a system of payments in the future for Tesla and maybe other Tesla products. Who knows? That's the first big story. Now, the negative story, of course, this is by our own lead researcher, Ellie. He wrote, Bitcoin mining industry is becoming increasingly tied to geopolitics. This is, of course, about China banning Bitcoin, right? And when they did ban Bitcoin, the hash rate dropped. When the hash rate dropped, the price dropped. There are a lot of things that happened. And then a lot of them moved to Kazakhstan. And then Kazakhstan, even though they have a lot of renewable energy, it's like, you guys have been using too much energy, so you need to stop. So they turned off the lights as well in Kazakhstan. Turned off lights, meaning basically it said, you guys can't use that much energy. And if you do want to use energy, it's going to be at a higher price than other people. And a bunch of them moved to Texas. Now, Texas, of course, has been very open. I'm like, yeah, you guys can come here. We'll supply you with the energy. In 2021 has been China's take on Bitcoin. And again, maybe China in general, with the way they've been managing politics and organizations and IPOs overseas. And a lot of that has changed. A very cool article you can have a look at if you get a chance. Again, all 10 links will be down in the description below. This talks about a lot of really interesting stuff that I've already read this once, but it says the institutionalization of financing of mining operations. Some people think that, the Chinese are still mining Bitcoin, but now under the table as a government operation. Again, that's a rumor. You have to do your own research on that matter. Okay, and let's go to our next positive story. Bitcoin is now legal tender in El Salvador. Now, a lot of people could debate me about this. There's a lot of sort of pushback and go forward and about this on Reddit and a bunch of social media. Some people say this is bad. It's not doing well in El Salvador. But Bitcoin is now legal tender in El Salvador and has been, since the date of this story. This is from the German magazine Der Welt. And I'm not pronouncing that, but, apologies for that. And basically, the government gave El Salvadorans $30 of Bitcoin to everybody who signed up for it, and they got their Bitcoin. And lo and behold, later on in the year, a bunch of these people, their $30 was worth more than what they actually got. I would say there are problems with the system. Bitcoin ATM's not working, slow transaction speed. There's also problems like the latest story I saw today is that people's Bitcoin is disappearing from their wallets. So issues with the system for sure, but you guys saw the videos, people going into Starbucks in El Salvador and paying with Bitcoin. A very cool thing is happening, I think, and even if it turns out to be a failure, it will be a way for people to look at adopting digital currencies in the future. The other story, of course, is Bitcoin City, and then the Chivo Pets as well. A bunch of stories connected to El Salvador that you should definitely have a look if you get a chance. All right, and then of course the huge story is Bitcoin hackers stole 3.8 billion in 122 attacks throughout 2020, right? The amount is definitely probably similar in 2021. There were loads of hacks this year. I couldn't find anything because, of course, we won't be able to get this data until the 2022 starts, but definitely lots of hacks. You can see that in this graph from Atlas VPN, and they got it from hacked.slowest.io, right? Almost no hacks when crypto was really slow, and as crypto starts to pick up, right? I started doing crypto in 2017. Hacks in 2018 just went up and then down in 2020 and then up probably in 2021 as well. Lots of money stolen. And that just sort of tells you as well is that a lot of these organizations are learning. They're learning how to be secure. They're learning how, with the bridging and stuff, how to keep your bridges safe. People are learning as well about Bitcoin and about Ethereum and keeping their wallet safe and having your own keys and custody and exchanges and keeping your money in exchanges or not, and hardware wallets and software wallets. And it's still very early days. I think a lot of it is not easy for a lot of people, and hopefully we can get there in 2022. I still think it'll be a few years until we get to a sort of modern banking system level of easiness, and even that I think is not very easy. Okay, let's move on to the next story, right? The next story, of course, is right, published again on February this year. Bitcoin hits $1 trillion in market value as cryptocurrency surge continues. Of course, the highest value it's ever hit was during this time. $1 trillion, right? That is surpasses the GDP of some countries. Bitcoin's wild run from Coinmetrics as well. That's where I think a lot of organizations and institutions and governments and pension funds sort of woke up and said, wow, we should have some Bitcoin in our wallet. And that was the big story at the beginning of the year, right? And Bitcoin's come down since then. Of course, it's when I was looking earlier on today, it was about 50K roughly for one Bitcoin. But still good, a fantastic year for Bitcoin, a fantastic year for cryptocurrencies. We just have to see where it goes from there. Okay, and let's go on to our next story, right? Coinbase and Binance's outages show the fragility of crypto exchanges. This is from Fortune magazine, of course. And if you were a Coinbase customer, you probably have this problem, when the market's down and people want to buy or people want to sell. You're like, oh my God, I can't access my Coinbase account. Or in Binance's case, right, I can't access my Binance account. Or there's been a bunch of stories of, funds being frozen because somebody can't access their funds and freezing a significant amount of funds, or people having longs or shorts and then get liquidated because they can't access their accounts. And this sort of makes the case that a lot of these exchanges, Coinbase and Binance Binance is the biggest, and Coinbase is definitely one of the biggest exchanges in the world. They've got a lot of way to go in terms of upping the number of servers they have and the way users interact with the systems and being able to survive when there's those critical moments that you could do with a traditional sort of stock buying system that a lot of banks have, that no matter the time it is, no matter what the crunch time is, you can log into your respective bank's stock buying app and buy your stock or sell your stock. And Coinbase and Binance needs to get there. And there's also the KYC stuff that happened to Binance this year as well, that I'm talking about personally, because I know that was a big pain for myself. Tried to get onto Coinbase and Binance, and we had huge problems with photos and IDs and passports and people, the AI systems that these organizations use to verify identity not being very good at all. Okay. All right, and let's move on to a positive story, probably one of the biggest stories, probably even the most defining story of 2021, I would say, right? As my personal pick is by Beeple, of course, right? And you saw this guy on American news all the time, sold for $69 million, or $69,346,250. Not the biggest NFT sale, because I did do research on this earlier in the week, that this was the second biggest NFT sale ever. Right, and it's the time the sort of NFTs came into the world, and people are like, oh my god, this is cool and artists can make money. That being said, people also criticized it as well, because NFTs in some systems like Ethereum as well, because Ethereum is still proof of work, NFTs do damage the environment in a way, allegedly is what some people say. So there's still a lot going on, but some people have made loads of money from NFTs. If you scroll through crypto Twitter, you'll see guys who buy houses, guys who stop working. A friend of my older brother's, he stopped working. He retired because he sold a bunch of NFTs this year. I believe he's from Australia, and he made enough money to be settled for the rest of his life, right? And I got into NFTs this year, and it was really cool because I'm a big art fan. And I was like, oh, okay, these are cheap. These are affordable for me because I don't want to splash out too much in dollars. I don't want to splash out too much for a piece of digital art, just because, I'm a little bit risk adverse when it comes to this. But yeah, I think definitely anyone would probably agree this is the year of NFTs, despite the controversy. Lots of people have it. NFTs have changed people's lives. NFTs have changed a bunch of artists' life. NFTs have changed the way we interact with, I hate to say it, the metaverse and Decentraland and a bunch of other places as well. And the next story, of course, right, is about Solana. All right, Solana up 12,000% this year. What to know before buying the Ethereum competitor. This is, I guess, the idea for this story, which is why I chose it as well, was that this year was also the year of Ethereum competitors, not just Solana, Avalanche, Solana, Phantom as well. I just watched a video today about Harmony Protocol. There's a bunch of protocols. I mean, even Cardano as well. I mean, they've come a long way from 2020. And so all these systems are thriving at the same time Ethereum is thriving. And I mean, you can see the number over here. Solana up 12,000% this year. That is impressive. So if you were an early Solana buyer, you were pretty happy sitting at the end of 2021. You've probably made a bit of money, and definitely Solana's got a long way to go and has improved a lot, and a lot more functionality coming to the ecosystem. A lot of things already happening, especially with the NFT space, because I think that's where I really caught on to Solana, was the fact that I tried to buy an NFT on Ethereum and the gas fees was just, it was crazy. I'm not going to pay that much. But if you buy an NFT on Solana, you actually going to get something actually pretty decent for a cheap price, and you don't feel like you're paying a huge amount of transaction fees. All right, this year, so from Chain Analysis, May 14th, 2021, ransomware, of course. Now, of course, with everything that's happened with the uptick in prices of crypto, ransomware has gotten through the roof, especially. And again, I don't know too much about other countries because I tend to sort of get American news in my Gmail, in my Google News and that sort of stuff, is that ransomware has been going sort of crazy wild in American healthcare system. People attacking hospitals, people attacking government institutions and municipalities and local governments, and saying, basically installing something on their system, if you guys know what ransomware is, and saying, if you want access to your records, you have to pay us X amount of $1 million. Now, even universities as well. And in most cases, companies have put up the money. And in some cases, companies just have literally had to rebuild their records because no companies has this amount of cash, or medium to small SMEs, right? Small to medium organizations don't have this kind of cash sitting around that they're going to spend unless their records are super, super important. And ransomware is so easy to install. It's just a USB, plug it into a network, and it propagates and it locks everything up. And then there you go. So this has definitely been the year of ransomware, and this, I think, even without crypto going up, ransomware would still be a thing. So it's definitely something organizations need to think about moving into 2022, how to better protect yourselves. Okay, and the last story I wanted to end off for our year summary of 2021, right, is Constitution DAO. Constitution DAO, of course, was the biggest sort of news item towards the end of this year, where a copy of the American Constitution was for sale, and a bunch of people came together and said, like, we the people are going to put a bunch of money together and we're going to buy it. I think they came out with $20 million plus, but of course it wasn't enough. I wouldn't say of course, but because they were very transparent about it, people are like, they should have kept them a secret and they could have got it maybe. But the idea of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, have come into being. There is one that's forming at the moment to buy Reddit when Reddit has their IPO. and so that Reddit is owned by everybody. And there's one to buy an NBA basketball team. There are a bunch of them going on at the moment. There's, of course, probably one of the most famous ones is the OpenSea DAO, or Open. You guys probably know what I'm talking about, but they're airdropping SOS tokens to people who purchased NFTs on OpenSea. So DAOs are really a thing of the future, definitely a trend we're going to continue to see in 2022. An amazing trend that's happened in 2021, and sort of a good way to end off the year, I'd say. So despite the bad news, right, I think we have a very positive future to look forward to in 2022. And I mean, what stories did I miss out? Is there anything that you guys think I should have talked about that I didn't talk about, or things that I talked about that I shouldn't have talked about because it's not a big story? Please let me know. Come to Telegram, come to Discord. My computer is literally logged in all day until I go to sleep, which is about 17 hours a day, because I only sleep for like 7 hours, 7 days a week. And I'd love to talk to you guys and hear your thoughts and comments about what's been happening this year. Otherwise, this will not be the last episode. I will do another podcast in the new year 2022, and I hope to talk to you guys later.